I know. It's an old meme, possibly overused, but I thought it was perfect, especially with the AI making the motion here. So this is, of course, the rest of GTA hanging out with the homebuyer, and homebuyers really got their eye on Midtown. And this is really indicative of what's actually happening in the market right now. This is actually more true than it is than you think. But anyway, okay. So anyway, beautiful people. Andrew the Realtor here. Let me minimize myself a little bit. Welcome to the October 2025 Midtown Toronto specific housing market update. So this is going to be a shorter one, just kind of very specific for the area because there's some very encouraging actually stuff about the Midtown market. But that said, if you guys are interested in something very specific to GTA, in depth, a lot of interest rates, a lot of real market depth, in depth stuff, a lot longer than this, click over here. I can have a little thing you can click on. You can watch the video there. So anyway, in the Midtown, in the meantime, I would say Midtown too often. The areas ahead of the class. And again, and this has been a consistent pattern off and on this year, but this is certainly the case now. And I'm going to show the most recent stats, and inventory is and demand is slowly balancing itself out. And to be honest, that's the case for the GTA as a whole, but Midtown is especially, again, ahead of the class on this because it's actually a lot more balanced than a lot of other areas. And of course, if you're looking to sell or buy in Midtown, you really need to know what it is that you need to do. And the stuff I'm going to show you right now will really help you make those decisions. And as always, guys, Andrew the Realtor, I leave this my information here just in case you need to contact me with any questions and such. Of course, my realtor experience, the QR code up there on the top left, and you got midtowntoronto.real estate or askandrew.realtor. Any one of those will take you to my little real estate experience. There's a lot of contact info and that kind of thing. As always, you can reach out. My contact info is always at the bottom of the video as well. So onward. Okay, here are the actual stats for not only the GTA on the right, but specifically Midtown. And you'll see the differences, again, make you kind of be happy. If you're a Midtown homeowner, you're gonna be happy with this anyway. So let's go right off the bat. So properties sold are higher this September, last month, versus September 2024, which is the case in the GTA. Certainly, you've probably heard about that on the news. And of course, it's the case in Midtown as well. So up 5%, not a huge increase, but at least it shows you that things are moving. And here's where it gets a little more interesting, especially when you compare it to what's happening in the GTA as a whole. And that is prices, all properties price on our averages up in the area of Midtown. And again, I always put an asterisk, but Midtown is what I call Midtown. Google Midtown is a little bit different anyway. But if you watch my updates on a monthly basis, you'll see that I'm using the same area, so it's a consistent theme. So it's up almost 4%. So that's a big difference. Again, because on average, all properties, if you look to the right over here on the GTA is in general, down almost 5%, which isn't huge, but still it's a far cry from up almost 4%. That's the first big difference. And freehold specifically, because I know a lot of you Midtown, especially in the areas I go to, you have freehold, detached, semis, townhomes, up 2% freehold properties specifically, not taking into account condo properties. That's a pretty big deal. And one of the other things here that's really positive you want to keep in mind is new listings, active listings, and average days on market. So new listings, of course, are down significantly, interestingly. And that's actually not a bad thing. In general, inventory has been so high GTA wide, but certainly in Midtown as well, that putting on too many listings on the market makes it too difficult, not only for buyers to make a decision, but also a lot of competition for fellow sellers. Not that we don't want competition, no, we do, but not to the extent that the inventory is so high. And so what's nice is actually that listings are coming down, new listings are coming down a little bit. Obviously, there's still quite a few properties out there. And active listings are also balancing out. Now, we've had record highs in terms of inventory GTA wide. And of course, Midtown is no exception to that previously in the beginning of the year. But now, you look at this, it's almost the same as September of 2024. So here is actually a good thing. Not quite as many properties hitting the market. So the properties that are on the market are getting a sufficient amount of interest. And active listings, those already on the market, are about the same number as September of 2024. So that's balancing it out. Again, I refer you to the difference in the GTA, where active listings, even though it's less than it used to be, it's still up almost 20% versus September of last year. And new listings up by 4% versus last year. So again, Midtown is kind of at the forefront of balancing out the demand and the supply curve of the free market. And average days on market is a really big deal because, again, remember, Midtown, let's be honest, is not always the most affordable area and certainly not the most affordable homes, plenty in the $4, $5, $6, $7 million range. But all that in mind, notice the average days on market for all properties is 31 versus 51 of the GTA. Now, that's a really big deal, especially considering a lot of those properties in the GTA wide are significantly lower in price. So you would think cheaper, easier to buy, more interest. No, area has a lot to do with it. And of course, in the GTA, Midtown has a very special place for a lot of people's hearts, a lot of buyers' hearts. So again, you can look at detached semi and everything else. So the general gist of what I wanted to really portray in this month specifically is, for you Midtown folks, is doing really well. The market is significantly healthier. If anything, you hope that the rest of GTA catches up to what Midtown's been doing for a while, which it will inevitably sooner or later, because yeah, the market is getting better. But again, when that happens, Midtown's still going to be at the forefront more than likely. So let's get right to the so what, so to speak. Looking to buy in Midtown, here's what you should be doing. You should. I know, that's kind of corny, but you really should. It's still a great time. Inventory is still high. Prices are still soft. We're up, but not up a lot versus September of 2024. So inventory is good. But don't assume, as the second point says, don't assume that the home you like will be available forever. Days on market have leveled out a little bit. And I know we're looking at other areas of Toronto, of other areas, certainly of the GTA, you think, oh, it's going to be forever. 51 days, it's almost 2 months on the market. What's the big deal? There's no hurry. Well, not in Midtown. And in Midtown, you can't assume that the home's going to be there forever. You really can't, especially with some unique properties. And Midtown is known for unique properties here and there, niche properties that go pretty quickly. Sellers are motivated, flexible. Absolutely. They're still motivated. They're still, especially if they're on the market right now, considering the kind of year it has been. But 99% are not desperate. So be realistic and fair. Buyers, the key to being a good buyer is being realistic, know what the price is. Yes, you try to do your best, and buyer's agent, I certainly try to get the best price possible for my clients, but we have to be realistic and we have to be fair. Because quite frankly, that's what works. That's when you actually get something versus taking off a seller and not buying anything in the first place. And importantly, very importantly, another point, don't get distracted. And this is something I discuss in my GTA Wide. Again, there's a link towards, at the end of this video, I'll give you a link to that larger GTA Wide video. But listen, buyers, don't get distracted. Don't overthink. I know sometimes we analyze, and the paralysis by analysis, basically. That happens a lot. Plan from the beginning, figure out what you want, figure out your criteria, figure out what your budget you want to stick to, and then nab it when you see it. Because again, inventory is still high. It's still quite good. And there's lots of opportunities out there. Don't get distracted by news and everything else. Waiting, oh, you know what? If I wait another month, that house is going to drop 100,000. You know what? It probably won't, especially the way things have been going. It might even go up. So as it has been. So, and of course, let me know. My information's on here. Let me know if you're looking. I do know of off-market properties. I see them regularly. If either I'm in person walking around, I see something coming up on the market, or I talk to a seller, or I know a colleague that works in the area that has something that's coming on the market the next week or so, maybe even longer. You might have a chance to get into something before others do. Very important. So let me know. Contact information is always at the bottom. Ask Andrew.Realtor. You can contact me through that as well. Sellers, be confident but be realistic. Yes, you should be confident, especially after you just heard what I said about the Midtown market. But you got to be realistic. You gotta be realistic. You can't go to a high price. Listen, it's not the height of 2022, not the first quarter of 2022. We're not. Be realistic. Know your stuff. Definitely have a realtor that, if you're not working with me, and not everyone does, obviously, make sure you've got the realistic numbers. Work with that with your realtor to find out what the actual good price is, because you want to start at a good price, not too high, because then, that kind of changes things as you change the price. It might keep you on the market longer, but at the same time, don't be a doormat. I've seen, I don't know if it's the listing agent or if it's just the seller themselves. They think the market's going to crash. It's bad. And listen, I'll just take whatever offer I can get. I'm in a hurry. Listen, don't be a doormat, especially in Midtown. Listen, there's demand for your place. Don't give it away. Have your realtor keep an eye on what is selling and notice if there's a pattern. If you're in kind of maybe a higher priced property, maybe you've been on the market a while, you haven't got the kind of interest you want. Make sure that your listing agent keeps you updated on what is happening in the area. What sold, what didn't sell, and if something sold, is there a pattern to what's been selling that might be different from what you have? Because quite often you just want to think, oh, it's just the price. If we just lower the price a little bit, we'll sell the house. Well, not always. Sometimes it's something very specific about a location or the type of house or condition of the house or something like that. That might actually be the reason that the house isn't selling. So your realtor should keep an eye on that. I certainly do for my clients. And listen, if you're sitting longer than average, price may not be your issue. And that is something not indicative of Midtown. This doesn't happen in Midtown as often, but certainly the rest of the GTA for sure. And occasionally, it's not always price. See the note that I made before. Check with the listing agent. Think about what's been selling, what is different about what's sold versus what's up with your house. And it may very well be maybe just lack of interest in that specific area, that street, maybe something happened in the news that puts a little stigma on it. There's often, not always, but often enough that it plays a role that it's not the price. It may be something else. So again, to my even previous point to that, don't be a doormat. Don't just give it away just because you think, oh, I got to really got to lower the price. It might not be the price. It might be something else. And just be ready for that and know that going in, especially when you know your numbers, you talk to your listing agent up front. So again, I'll leave you with the confident. Be confident. Midtown market is doing fantastic, guys. And I'm going to keep it short just like that. Again, I have a big, long one for the GTA. Click on that at the end of the video. As always, Andrew the Realtor, MidtownToronto.real estate, AskAndrew.Realtor. Those are my two websites. And, of course, my information is always at the bottom of the video. Give me a shout. Book a call with me. And if you have questions about either buying or selling or both, I'll walk you through the process and maybe answer some questions you might have about the market. As always, highly caffeinated. Wishing you a fantastic rest of October. Talk to you in November.